Yeah, I'll react to that, sure. Hey guys, good afternoon. It's 12:08. The original link to the video, top of the description from History Matters. Preemptive like. My name's Connor. If you're new, I'll be your captain this evening. To learn. Why didn't Britain ever try to retake the United States? Wasn't, well, 1814, you guys burnt down the White House, right? Maybe it just wasn't worth it and better to try and ally with them. I don't know. We're gonna find out right here. Let's learn, guys. There's a lot of funny, like, little, kind of like with Jay Foreman, Map Men, where there are these little things that are quick, and if you don't pause and read them, you're missing out on something funny. But I am going to try and just watch it through, and then I'm going to go back and look at the stuff because I'm going to be pausing every, like, 10 seconds, and that can be unbearable. Let's learn.
After the American Revolution and the birth of the United States, the British were somewhat unhappy, and many there never really got over the loss. So why was it then that over the next century the British never made any attempt to retake some or all of the United States? Why simply accept that it was gone forever? So in the immediate aftermath of American independence, Britain wasn't really in a rush to change anything. Well, the new government across the pond wasn't exactly a high-functioning one. Its new leaders couldn't agree on how the new country would operate, which meant that until new rules could be written,
See, like that. I'll go through and then I'll go back and read the funny stuff.
Which meant that until new rules could be written, most of the old ones stayed in force. Meaning that there was a lot of money to be made without the cost of running the place, which was a bonus. Now, eventually, the US would draft its constitution, which would then limit foreign trade. This wasn't a good enough reason to declare war, though, and Britain wasn't actually that worried about America's continued independence. You see, the prevailing belief in Parliament was that monarchy was the most natural form of government, and that as such, the new American Republic was doomed to failure. Throughout the Revolution and shortly afterwards, many American revolutionaries actually saw themselves as English, or at least close to it. And in London, the belief was that they'd soon learn the error of their ways and move to bring back a monarchy. And since there were no American nobles, they'd inevitably have to turn to Britain, and who better than King George? And from there, the slow but inevitable process of reincorporating America into the empire would begin. Now, obviously this never
But they really thought that.
happened, but given Britain's own flirtation with republicanism in the 17th century, it wasn't an unreasonable belief. Now, shortly after the Constitution was signed, France had itself a revolution, and between then and 1815 was in a constant state of war with Britain. As such, the British had more pressing issues, which led to it impressing sailors sailing under the US flag.
And even then, in 1812, it shows you how powerful the British were, in that even after dealing with a much bigger issue in Europe, they still had the power to just, like, sail over quick to the U.S. and slap us around and just go up. It's not like they just burnt down some coastal towns. They went to the White House and burnt it down. Oh, God. I think Americans often think that we were always just very powerful, and our strength that we have in the world today fools us into thinking it was always that way.
This led to the War of 1812, and it was the last time that Britain could have realistically retaken some of the United States. So, did it try?
They would have retaken me?
The last time that Britain could have realistically
I'm
retaken
right there.
some of the United States.
They took New England.
So, did it try? Well, yes. Lord Liverpool, the Prime Minister at the time, wasn't trying to conquer all of the United States, but he did want to expand Britain's holdings at the expense of the US. You see,
Oregon?
the border between British America and the US wasn't really well defined, and the British wanted to bring the border to here and annex Maine and turn it into the colony of New Ireland. The British had occupied much of the area during the war, and so long as the rest of it went well, it was believed that the Americans would simply give it up. But during the peace negotiations, Britain never asked for a single inch of territory. So why not? Well, the first reason was that London's primary concern was the redrawing of the map in Europe to prevent future wars becoming Britain's problem. The primary concern was that France wouldn't accept the changes and that war would begin again. As such, it was decided that Britain would offer a return to pre-war everything, and the Americans agreed. In the decades and century after this, British attention was firmly focused on expanding in India and later Africa, as well as the looming confrontation with Russia in Central Asia. As such, North America took a back seat, and by the mid-19th century, the US was far too great a power for the British to ever risk war without potentially losing Canada, and so they did nothing. And so the dream of reincorporating America took a back seat, and by the mid-19th century, the US was far too great a power for the British to ever risk war without potentially losing Canada, and so they did nothing. So the dream of reincorporating a single inch of American territory was dead forever. I hope you enjoyed this episode, with a special thanks to my patrons, James.
You'd always say, thank you for watching, and I would always say, thank you for making, and I missed that.
Annette, Kelly Moneymaker.
So very interesting, and so makes sense. It's kind of what I sort of thought would be the reason, in a very general way, that I thought was that it just wasn't worth it. And you had bigger fish to fry. But I want to go back to just...
Britain wasn't really in a rush to change. New leaders could...
The plan, led by a governor, industrial economy, Jefferson is deported, strong government, national debt plan. So who is it? Is this Adams or Hamilton or something? George Jefferson.
Agree on how the news, meaning that there was a lot.
We still get to trade with America. We don't have to pay to run the place. Yeah, that. So this I guess is the reason, big reason.
Lots of money. Its constitution.
Article 1. Congress can regulate trade with other nations, meaning that new rules are in place. Thus, the Brits have to pay tariffs now. Bite us, Congress.
Not worried. The most natural
types of government: glorious monarchy, brutal savagery, whatever the Romans did.
King George. Now, obviously, then an 8 to it could have Lord Britain's holdings.
Where is the, all right, plan to win. Borrow American sailors, impressment, occupy Maine, burn down the White House, win at New Orleans. Didn't the Battle of New Orleans happen after? This is why instant communication is so fascinating to me. Instant communication is the most revolutionary technology that fascinates me the most, but more than anything. More than the printing press, more than firearms, more than even like more than the engine, like more than like a lot of Industrial Revolution stuff. Well, this was, I guess, part of Industrial Revolution. But so I believe like it had already, the War of 1812 was already over, and there was a peace, or they agreed to end the war, Britain and America. But Jackson down in New Orleans fought that battle, and that's kind of the most famous battle of that period in America, and the war was already over. But it just shows you how crazy of a transformation instant communication was.
The Americans would simply give it up. Britain's first problem decided that Britain...
Everyone died for nothing, yes. All right. Love this channel. Love you guys. Hope you're all doing well. Would appreciate any comments down below, any recommendations, anything at all. And hopefully I'll see you guys next time. Bye.